I get a lot of questions about how I'm able to get consistent, continuous results for so many clients and subscribers. So in this video, I'm sharing 5 actionable interview tips and tricks so you can make that impact in your next interview. Interview tip 1 is keep the interviewer engaged, which sounds like I'm stating the obvious, but an easy way to do this is to use a clear structure like the STAR method to answer interview questions to hold the interviewer's attention. So here's how to use the STAR method to nail your interview. The STAR method is a technique you can use to answer an interview question and make sure it hits every point that the interviewer is looking for. It's particularly powerful when you're answering questions like give me an example of a time when, tell me about a time when, or similar. STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. So here's an example. Tell me about a time when you faced a difficult or unclear task. Situation. I was asked by my manager to send weekly reports on complaints handling activity so they could report key complaints to senior directors. Task. This was an unclear task as I wasn't sure what areas or metrics my manager wanted me to include. I wanted to use my initiative, but I needed more information. Action. I sent an email to my manager with a few suggested metrics on complaints, such as volume of complaints per week, how many were resolved, and how many were still outstanding. Result. She added a couple of suggestions, but was happy with my recommendation. I felt including suggestions would demonstrate that I was able to take on an ambiguous task with a rough outline. She was pleased with my final version, and I provided this on a weekly basis. Interview tip 2 is to build an emotional connection. This is massively underrated by far too many candidates. Although you need to frame your skills and experience in the right way, people also tend to hire those that they like and feel comfortable with. So when you build an emotional connection with someone, it increases your likability, it enhances trust between you and the interviewer. And trust is essential to build a connection. And you do this by giving authentic examples for the skills that you want to demonstrate during the interview. For example, if you think of a sports personality or celebrity who has persevered in their career despite injuries or setbacks, you might find yourself rooting for them even though you have no personal connection to them. You have an emotional connection. You want that person to win and succeed, even though you don't know them. An emotional connection with your interviewer can make them feel invested in your success. So share stories about your journey so far in your career, or if you're starting out, your passion for the industry or for the role, or your dedication to the work. The next interview tip is to prep better than any other candidate. I've helped hundreds of people into jobs to date, conducted almost 5,000 interviews, and I can confidently tell you, most candidates don't prep. You will be leagues ahead if you do this before your interview. So you need to do a very specific matching exercise in order to be prepared for anything they throw at you. You need to spend time looking at the skills and experience and behaviors sections of the job description to understand what behaviors and relevant parts of your skills and experience match with those that are required in the role. Then link at least 3 to 5 points from the job description to your relevant skills. Then you need to go over what examples you are going to give that demonstrate those skills and that specific experience. Most people don't do this, and I know this because of the high volume of people I interview that haven't done this, and it really shows. But just think about all the steps that you take to actually do an interview in the first place. A long job search on multiple platforms, sometimes registering with multiple recruitment agencies, screening calls, phone interviews with HR and recruitment, completing online assessments, preparing presentations, buying a suit or a smart dress if you don't have one, then making the trip unless it's a virtual interview, then sitting in the room feeling nervous, and then after all of that, missing out because of that one step that could have been done before your interview, which was the difference between an offer and a rejection. To guarantee a pass, you must prep well in advance, not the night before, and go over some answers to common interview questions. I promise you'll thank me because you will feel the world of difference when you go into your interview. So far, have you picked up anything new from these tips? If so, let me know what that is. It helps me to know if this is helpful or not, so leave a comment and do click like as well. These simple actions help this video to show up for more people on YouTube. So if you've got the job that you want already and you've had great results, then you can also buy me a coffee if you like. There is a link in the description below to show you how to do that. Interview tip 4 is to rehearse. The interview should not be used as your practice run. So this should not be the first time that you discover how you're going to approach answers. I mentioned in the last interview tip to go over examples, but a secret actionable tip is to record yourself on any device. It will feel weird and very strange, and if you're like me, you'll cringe a lot at first. But this style of practice with very visceral, uncomfortable feedback will take you leagues ahead of someone who didn't do this. You are gaining the opportunity to hear what the interviewer hears by speaking your answer aloud and then hearing it back before your interview, and then you get a golden opportunity to refine those answers. The next interview tip is listen. Most candidates think that they are really good listeners, but I'm going to share an example of how easy it is to miss a question. So take a look at this interview question. The question is, can you give me an example of a time when you improved an existing process or implemented a new process? An example answer is, I have actually improved many processes in the time I've worked at company X. I increased profit by 7% and even received a recommendation from our head of department because of some of the processes and procedures I've been involved in. That's one answer. Now take a look at another answer. When I started at company X, they still used paper registration forms to register their customers. I saw that this could be improved, so after speaking with my manager, I spent a little time each day working closely with Department X to build an online form that customers can use to register. This form replaced the paper forms and is now officially the new process. The online form was user-friendly and simple to navigate, so it created a better customer experience. It also meant that we were analyzing what was on the form and cut it down by 50% because much of it wasn't necessary. So that means the online registration now only takes 5 minutes. Previously, it took customers 12 to 15 minutes, and customers can also pay online, so we don't lose the opportunity to register a new paying customer. Answer 1 is a general answer. We can see that here. I have actually improved many processes in the time I worked at company X. This doesn't reference a specific process. This is a general reference to many processes. Then you've got, I increased profit by 7% and even received a recommendation from our head of department. In your interview, it's definitely good to include things like recommendations. Then here, because of some of the processes I've been involved in, it goes back to generals as opposed to a specific process or an example of at least one of the processes you've been involved in or that you received the recommendation for. Now, comparing that to answer 2 here, answer 2 dives straight into a specific example of one process that you changed and affected. When I started at company X, they still used paper registration forms to register customers. I saw that this could be improved. So within the first 10 seconds, it answers the question. Then everything after that enhances that first sentence. But you've already given a specific example of a situation where you saw that something could be improved and set about addressing it. So after speaking with my manager, I spent a little time each day working closely with Department X to build a form that customers can use to register. This replaced the paper forms and is now the new process. So that last part explains all of the benefits of the form. User-friendly, simple to navigate, better customer experience. It only takes 5 minutes and customers can pay online. Other benefits could be that the lack of paper was environmentally friendly or that you built relationships with new colleagues and teams. This is how I formulate answers that allow so many people to continuously get results and keep passing interviews. The key here is to see how easy it is to miss what the question is actually asking you for. It's unbelievably common, but lots of candidates fall into that listening trap. Now, have you ever found yourself struggling to articulate your thoughts clearly and persuasively during a job interview? You can learn how to confidently highlight your strengths and achievements in interview mastery. Click the program details in the video description below this video so that you can find out more. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you need help with in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.